The betrayal. The glass elevator ascended silently, carrying Priya Sharma to the 40th floor. Her stomach fluttered with anxiety, but not because of the height. At 25, Priya had already distinguished herself as Sterling Consulting's most promising intern. Her economic analyses were featured in company presentations, and her market projections had landed 2 major clients in the past month alone. But today wasn't about work. The elevator doors opened to reveal the executive floor's sleek minimalism, all glass, chrome, and muted grays. Priya straightened her charcoal pencil skirt and walked purposefully toward the corner office. No appointment necessary. Not anymore. 3 months ago, Vikram Malhotra, Sterling's 38-year-old CEO, had kept her late to discuss quarterly projections. By midnight, they were discussing much more than business. Their affair had been intense, secret, and against every professional boundary Priya had set for herself. Yet she couldn't deny the connection, intellectual and physical, that sparked between them whenever they were alone. Vikram's assistant was absent, so Priya knocked directly on his door. "Enter," came the familiar voice, deep and commanding. Vikram was standing by the floor-to-ceiling windows, Mumbai's skyline sprawling behind him. He turned, his expression shifting from annoyance to recognition to something closer to hunger. "Priya, I wasn't expecting you." He gestured to the leather chair across from his desk. "I have a meeting in 20 minutes. This won't take long." Her voice wavered slightly. "I need to talk to you about something important." He raised an eyebrow, checking his watch before sitting down. "I'm listening." Priya took a deep breath. "I'm pregnant." The silence that followed seemed to stretch into eternity. Vikram's face remained unreadable, his dark eyes fixed on hers. "You're certain?" he finally asked, his tone clipped. "Yes, 8 weeks." He leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. "And you're telling me because it's yours." Priya felt her cheeks flush. "I haven't been with anyone else." Something shifted in Vikram's expression, a flicker of emotion quickly suppressed. Then, unexpectedly, he laughed. Not a warm laugh of surprise or joy, but a cold, dismissive chuckle that chilled Priya to her core. "That's quite the claim," he said, standing up. "Quite convenient, too. Targeting the CEO? I expected more originality from someone with your intelligence." Priya felt as if she'd been slapped. "What are you talking about?" "I'm not targeting anyone. I'm just telling you—" "Let me be clear," Vikram interrupted, his voice hardening. "Whatever you think happened between us was temporary and meaningless. If you're pregnant, and I'm not convinced it's mine, that's your problem to solve." Tears sprang to Priya's eyes. "I'm not asking for anything. I just thought you should know." "Well, now I know." He walked to the door and opened it. "And now you should know that your internship at Sterling is terminated, effective immediately." "You're firing me?" Priya stood up, shock replacing her hurt. "That's illegal." "Is it?" "Your performance has been slipping. Documentation will show you missed deadlines last week. A shame, really. You had potential." "This is because I'm pregnant?" Vikram lowered his voice. "This is because you've become a liability. Clear your desk by noon. If you attempt to make any accusations or contact me again, my legal team will ensure your professional reputation never recovers. Am I clear?" A tear slid down Priya's cheek. "Crystal." "Good." His smile didn't reach his eyes. "And Priya, if you're smart, and I know you are, you'll take care of this little situation before it complicates your life further." The words hit her like physical blows. She stepped back, one hand instinctively moving to her stomach. "You're a monster," she whispered. Vikram shrugged. "I'm a businessman. Sentimentality is for the weak." He checked his watch again. 15 minutes to clear your desk. Security will escort you out." As Priya walked out, her mind raced through options. She had no family in Mumbai, minimal savings, and now no job. The pregnancies, she would later discover, would make finding new employment nearly impossible. By sunset, Priya had packed her small apartment and booked a train ticket to Pune, where her college roommate, Nisha, had started a small digital marketing firm. She cried silently as Mumbai's lights faded behind her, one hand resting on her stomach. "It's just us now," she whispered. "But we're going to be okay. Better than okay." She wiped her tears away. "He thinks he's broken me, but I'll show him what real strength looks like." The train rumbled forward into the gathering darkness, carrying Priya toward an uncertain future, one she was now determined to shape on her own terms. Rising from ashes, the apartment in Pune was barely large enough for one person, let alone the three that would soon occupy it. Priya placed a hand on her now visible baby bump as she sank into the second-hand chair by the window, exhaustion seeping into her bones. 6 months had passed since Vikram had laughed in her face and cast her out. "You look like you need this more than I do," Nisha said, handing Priya a steaming cup of ginger tea. Unlike the cold corporate warriors at Sterling Consulting, Nisha Patel radiated warmth and authenticity. Her small digital marketing agency, Horizon Digital, operated out of a converted loft downtown with just 4 employees. "The doctor says I'm having twins," Priya said quietly, still processing the news from her morning appointment. Nisha's eyes widened. "Twins? Are you serious?" Apparently, the universe thought one challenge wasn't enough. Priya attempted a smile, but her eyes betrayed her fear. "This changes nothing," Nisha declared, kneeling beside her friend. "Except that we'll need to buy 2 of everything instead of 1. Priya shook her head. "I can't keep imposing on you like this. You've already done too much." "Nonsense. Your resume landed us the Meta account last week. That contract alone pays your salary for a year." Nisha squeezed Priya's hand. "But I've been thinking, your talents are wasted on social media campaigns." "Beggars can't be choosers," Priya replied, sipping her tea. "That's my point. You're not a beggar, Priya. You're brilliant." Nisha pulled out her tablet, opening a presentation. "Remember that market analysis model you created for Sterling? The one they're still using?" Priya nodded. She'd developed a proprietary algorithm for predicting market disruptions across industries, work Vikram had claimed credit for after firing her. "What if we built something similar but better? Not just for big corporations, but for startups and mid-sized companies that can't afford Sterling's fees?" Nisha's eyes sparkled with excitement. "I've run the numbers. With your expertise and my client network, we could launch within 6 months." For the first time in months, Priya felt a flicker of hope. "You want to start a consulting firm? With a pregnant woman who was fired from her last job?" "I want to start a consulting firm with the most brilliant economic mind I know," Nisha corrected. "Someone whose innovation was stolen and repackaged by a man too insecure to acknowledge her talent." The words resonated with something deep inside. Priya, a determination that had been buried beneath months of shame and fear. "We'd need capital," she said, her mind already calculating figures. "I've saved enough for initial operations. Plus, 3 of my clients have already asked if we offer strategic consulting services." Nisha grinned. "What do you say? Partners?" 3 months later, Insight Analytics was born, the same week as Aditi and Arjun Sharma. The early days were a blur of sleepless nights, client pitches conducted with babies sleeping in the next room, and the constant juggling act of motherhood and entrepreneurship. Their first office was a converted storage room in the back of Nisha's digital marketing space. While the twins napped in a playpen, Priya refined her market prediction algorithm, making it more sophisticated and user-friendly. By the time the twins were walking, Insight Analytics had 10 clients and 3 employees. "We need to talk about the Deshpande proposal," Rohan Kapoor said, knocking on Priya's office door. The young lawyer had joined Insight 6 months ago, bringing legal expertise that complemented their business services. At 32, Rohan had left a prestigious firm to join the startup, drawn by Priya's vision and integrity. "Come in," Priya called, quickly wiping pureed mango from her silk blouse. 3-year-old Arjun had insisted on helping with lunch earlier. Rohan entered, his expression serious. "Deshpande Pharmaceuticals is impressed with our analysis, but they have concerns about confidentiality. Apparently, Sterling Consulting approached them last week with a remarkably similar service offering." Priya's blood ran cold. "Similar how?" "Similar enough that Deshpande's CEO asked if we'd worked with Sterling before." Rohan handed her a brochure. "They're calling it Prescient Market Intelligence. The methodology looks suspiciously like your algorithm." Priya scanned the glossy brochure, her anger building with each page. The framework was unmistakably hers. the same one she'd developed at Sterling, now expanded and rebranded. He's stealing my work, again. She looked up at Rohan. And using it to undercut us with potential clients. There's more, Rohan said grimly. Sterling just announced they're opening an office in Pune. They're targeting our client base directly. The confrontation. The Sterling Consulting headquarters had expanded since Priya last stepped through its doors. The lobby now spanned 2 floors, with a massive sculpture of interlinked golden rings symbolizing connection and prosperity. Priya noted the irony as the elevator carried her upward. 8 years had transformed her from a frightened intern into the CEO of Insight Analytics, now one of India's fastest-growing consulting firms. Her tailored navy suit projected authority, while the subtle diamond earrings, a gift to herself when Insight secured its 100th client, caught the light with every confident step. "Ms. Sharma, they're ready for you," said the receptionist, eyeing Priya with curious respect. The news of Sterling's lawsuit against Insight for corporate espionage had rocked the business community, especially when Insight countersued for intellectual property theft. Today's meeting was the first attempt at settlement negotiations. Rohan fell into step beside her as they approached the boardroom. "Remember, we're in a position of strength," he murmured. "Their suit is baseless, while our evidence is substantial." Priya nodded. "Is everyone here?" "Full Sterling executive team plus their legal counsel," Rohan confirmed. "Including Malhotra." Priya's heart quickened, but her expression remained impassive. "Then let's not keep them waiting." The boardroom doors opened, revealing a long table surrounded by men in expensive suits. At the head sat Vikram Malhotra, now 46 but still commanding the room with his presence. His hair was touched with silver at the temples, adding to his aura of authority. The conversation stopped abruptly as Priya entered. Vikram's expression flickered, shock, confusion, then rapid recalculation, before settling into a neutral mask. "Ms. Sharma," he said, rising slightly. "I wasn't aware you would be attending personally." "Insight Analytics is my company, Mr. Malhotra," Priya replied coolly. "I make a point of being present when its future is being discussed." Something unreadable passed through Vikram's eyes. Recognition, certainly, but something else too, something almost like regret quickly suppressed. "Of course," he gestured to an empty chair. "Please join us." The meeting began with Sterling's legal counsel outlining their position. That Insight had systematically targeted Sterling's clients, using insider knowledge that could only have been obtained through corporate espionage. When they finished, Rohan stood. "While Sterling has presented a compelling work of fiction, we're here to deal in facts." He distributed folders to everyone present. Insight Analytics' countersuit alleges that Sterling Consulting has been using proprietary algorithms developed by Ms. Sharma during her time at your company, intellectual property that Sterling claimed as its own after wrongfully terminating her employment, Vikram's lawyer scoffed. "An intern claiming to have developed our core analytics system? That's hardly credible." "Perhaps this will add credibility," Priya said, opening her laptop. Emails from Mr. Malhotra to the development team dated 8 years ago explicitly referencing Priya's model and instructing programmers on implementation. Original code documentation with my signature. And timestamps proving the algorithm existed before Sterling unveiled its revolutionary new system. The room fell silent as the evidence was projected onto the screen. Vikram's face had gone pale. "There's also the matter of my termination," Priya continued, her voice steady despite the anger simmering beneath, "which occurred immediately after I informed Mr. Malhotra of my pregnancy, a clear violation of labor laws and grounds for a separate lawsuit we've thus far chosen not to pursue." The Sterling executives exchanged uncomfortable glances. This was clearly not the meeting they had anticipated. "These are serious allegations," Vikram finally said, his voice carefully controlled. "Perhaps we should continue this discussion more privately." "I disagree," Priya replied. "Your company publicly accused mine of theft and unethical practices. Your lawsuit has caused tangible harm to our reputation and business relationships." There's nothing private about corporate defamation. For the next hour, the discussion grew increasingly technical as both sides presented their evidence. Throughout, Priya noticed Vikram watching her, not with the dismissive arrogance she remembered, but with growing unease. As the meeting drew to a close, Sterling's legal team requested time to review Insight's evidence before proceeding further. Of course, Priya agreed. We have nothing to hide. As everyone gathered their materials, Vikram approached her directly. Priya, he said quietly. Could I have a word? She regarded him coolly. I believe our lawyers should handle any further communication. Please, he insisted, something almost desperate in his tone. 5 minutes. Against her better judgment, Priya nodded to Rohan that she would be fine. When the room had emptied, she turned to face the man who had once broken her heart and nearly her spirit. You have 4 minutes now, she said, checking her watch. Vikram ran a hand through his hair, a gesture of uncertainty she'd never seen from him before. I had no idea you were behind Insight Analytics until this lawsuit. The name Sharma? I never made the connection. That seems to be a pattern with you, Priya observed. Not making connections that should be obvious. He flinched at the barb. I deserved that. He paused, seeming to struggle with his next words. The algorithm was brilliant. Is brilliant. I should have acknowledged your contribution back then. Back then? You're still using my work without attribution or compensation. That's not a past mistake, it's ongoing theft. Vikram looked away. Things got complicated after you left. The board had already been told the system was developed in-house. Changing the narrative would have raised questions you didn't want to answer, Priya finished for him. Like why you fired a pregnant employee, or why you claimed credit for her innovation. The silence that followed was heavy with unspoken history. The child, Vikram finally said. Did you... Children, Priya corrected, her voice hardening. Twins, a boy and a girl. They're 7 now. Something like wonder crossed Vikram's face, quickly followed by visible regret. I didn't know. You didn't want to know, Priya countered. You made that abundantly clear when you laughed in my face and told me to take care of the situation. I was wrong, he admitted, the words seemingly difficult for him. About everything. The algorithm. The pregnancy? You. He looked directly at her. I made a terrible mistake, Priya. For a moment, she glimpsed the man she had once thought she loved. Vulnerable. Human. But the memory of his cruelty was still too vivid, the years of struggle too recent. Your 4 minutes are up, she said, gathering her belongings. Any further communication should go through our legal teams. As she reached the door, Vikram called after her. What are their names? Priya paused, her hand on the doorknob. Part of her wanted to deny him even this small connection to the children he had rejected before their birth. But another part, the part that had always believed in truth, made her turn. Aditi and Arjun, she said simply. They have my surname. Without waiting for his response, she walked out, her head high and her steps unwavering. In the elevator, she finally allowed herself a deep breath. 8 years ago, she had left this building in tears, her future uncertain. Today, she left it as an equal, perhaps even as the one with the upper hand. The confrontation had shaken her more than she cared to admit. But as the elevator descended, Priya felt something unexpected. Not the vindication she had anticipated, but a strange sense of closure beginning to form. The man who had once seemed all-powerful now appeared diminished, while she had only grown stronger. Part 4. Power Dynamics. Power Dynamics, the rooftop garden of Insight Analytics Pune headquarters, offered a panoramic view of the city. Priya often came here to think, finding clarity in the open sky and distant mountains. Today, however, her mind was turbulent, despite the peaceful setting. The settlement offer arrived, Rohan said, joining her at the railing. The young lawyer's expression was carefully neutral, but Priya detected excitement beneath his professional demeanor. And, she prompted, turning to face him. It's substantial. He handed her the document. Sterling is offering to drop their lawsuit, publicly acknowledge your contribution to the algorithm's development, and pay licensing fees for continued use. Plus damages for the defamation. Priya scanned the figures, her eyebrows rising. This would fund our expansion into international markets. There's more, Rohan continued. Vikram Malhotra is requesting a personal meeting. Off the record, no lawyers present. Priya frowned. What could he possibly have to say that requires privacy? He didn't specify. But accepting the settlement isn't contingent on meeting him. Rohan hesitated. For what it's worth, our legal position is strong, but litigation could drag on for years. This settlement is a clear win. After Rohan left, Priya remained on the rooftop, watching the sunset paint the city in gold and amber. The settlement was indeed a victory, vindicating her claim to the algorithm and securing Insight's future. Yet the thought of meeting Vikram again stirred complicated emotions she had thought long buried. Her phone chimed with a reminder. Aditi's dance recital started in an hour. The twins were staying with Nisha this week while Priya handled the lawsuit crisis, but she had promised to attend every performance. Some promises could never be broken. The dance academy was filled with proud parents clutching bouquets and cameras when Priya arrived. She spotted Aditi backstage, resplendent in a turquoise Bharatanatyam costume, her expression serious as she practiced her steps. "Mama!" Arjun barreled into Priya's legs, nearly knocking her over. Unlike his sister, who had inherited Priya's analytical nature, Arjun was all energy and emotion. "Diti's going to dance like a peacock. I told her she looks silly, but Auntie Nisha says she looks beautiful." "And Auntie Nisha is right," Priya laughed, hugging him close. "Where is she?" "Saving seats," Arjun pointed toward the auditorium. "Can I have ice cream after the show?" "We'll see," Priya said, the universal parent response. "Let me wish your sister luck first." Backstage, Aditi was a bundle of nerves. "What if I forget the steps?" she whispered as Priya knelt to adjust her costume. "Then you'll improvise," Priya said firmly. "Remember what I always tell you?" Aditi nodded solemnly. "Mistakes are just opportunities to be creative." "Exactly," Priya kissed her forehead. "You'll be magnificent." Later, watching her daughter transform from nervous child to confident performer on stage, Priya felt a familiar wave of fierce pride. These two miraculous beings, stubborn, brilliant Aditi and exuberant, kind-hearted Arjun, were the most precious outcome of the darkest chapter in her life. Whatever bitterness she still carried toward Vikram, she could never regret the path that had brought her children into the world. The next morning, Priya made her decision. She would accept the settlement but decline the private meeting. The past was better left undisturbed. She was drafting the response when her assistant interrupted. "Ms. Sharma, there's someone here to see you." "He doesn't have an appointment, but he's rather insistent." Priya looked up, already knowing who it would be before her assistant added, "It's Vikram Malhotra." "Send him in," she said after a moment's hesitation. Better to end this cleanly face to face. Vikram entered her office with none of his usual commanding presence. Instead, he seemed almost hesitant, taking in the space, the awards on the walls, the children's artwork framed on her desk, with an expression of genuine interest. "Your company is impressive," he said, remaining standing until she gestured to a chair. "The growth you've achieved in 8 years, especially while raising children alone, it's remarkable." "I wasn't entirely alone," Priya corrected. "I had Nisha and other friends who became family. The kind of support system money can't buy." Vikram nodded, accepting the implied criticism. "I've reviewed your counter-proposal to the settlement. The terms are acceptable." "Then we have nothing more to discuss," Priya said. "The lawyers can finalize the details." "Actually, I'm here about something else." Vikram leaned forward. "I'd like to offer you a partnership. Not an acquisition, a true merger of equals. Sterling Insight could dominate the market internationally within 2 years. Priya stared at him, momentarily speechless. "You're proposing a business partnership? After everything that's happened?" "Precisely because of everything that's happened," Vikram replied. "You've built something extraordinary here, Priya, something I should have helped create, not tried to destroy." He paused. "I understand your reluctance to work with me, but this makes sense from a business perspective. Your innovation combined with Sterling's resources and global reach. And what about the personal aspect? Priya asked bluntly. We'd be working together daily. After you fired me for being pregnant. After you laughed at me when I was most vulnerable. Vikram's confident facade cracked slightly. I've thought about that moment every day for years, he admitted quietly. About how cruelly I behaved. About what I threw away because I was afraid. Afraid? Priya echoed incredulously. Of what? Of how much I cared for you, he said simply. Of the complications a child would bring to my carefully controlled life. Of admitting that someone else's brilliance might outshine my own. He met her gaze directly. Fear makes cowards of us all, Priya. I was a coward 8 years ago. The admission hung in the air between them. For the first time, Priya saw genuine remorse in his eyes. Not calculated, not strategic, but real. Even if I believed you've changed, she said carefully, a business partnership would be complex. The twins are my priority. Any arrangement would need to accommodate that reality. A look of hope crossed Vikram's face. Does that mean you're considering it? I'm considering what's best for Insight Analytics and its employees, Priya clarified. And for my children. Vikram nodded, accepting the boundary. I understand. He hesitated, then added, I'd like to meet them someday. Aditi and Arjun, not as anything other than someone who admires their mother and wants to make amends for past mistakes. The request surprised her. Why? Because they're part of you, he said simply. And because I want to see the people who inspire those drawings on your desk. The ones who make you smile like that when you look at them. Despite herself, Priya felt something shift inside her. Not forgiveness exactly, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. People could change. She herself had transformed from the frightened intern into a confident CEO. I'll think about it, she said finally. Both the merger and the other request. As Vikram rose to leave, he placed a small package on her desk. A token of respect, he explained. Not a bribe or a plea, just an acknowledgement. After he left, Priya unwrapped the package to find a crystal paperweight engraved with a complex mathematical formula, the core equation of her algorithm. Beneath it was inscribed, Developed by Priya Sharma, 2017, the foundation of innovation. It was, in its way, the recognition she had once craved. Yet now, with all she had built independently, it seemed almost unnecessary. A validation from the past when her present and future were already secure in her own hands. That evening, as she tucked the twins into bed, Arjun asked drowsily, Mama, is your company going to get bigger? Maybe, she answered, smoothing his hair. Would you like that? He considered seriously. Only if you don't get busier. You're already too busy sometimes. His innocent observation struck home. In pursuing victory over Vikram, both legally and competitively, had she been neglecting what truly mattered? I promise, she whispered. No matter what happens with the company, you two will always come first. As she turned out the light, Priya realized her decision about the merger couldn't be based on the past, on either revenge or reconciliation. It had to be about creating the best future for her company, for her employees, and most importantly, for the 2 sleeping children who had given her life its true purpose. Part 5. Full Circle. The children's birthday party transformed Priya's modest garden into a fairyland of lights and color. 7 years exactly since that painful day in Vikram's office, Aditi and Arjun turned 8 amid laughter, cake, and the cheerful chaos of 24 classmates. Nisha appeared at Priya's side, handing her a glass of wine. Penny for your thoughts? You've been staring at your phone all afternoon. Priya slipped the device back into her pocket. Just checking the time. The merger announcement goes public at midnight. After months of negotiation, the Sterling Insight partnership had finally been formalized. The new entity would maintain separate operational teams but combine resources for global expansion, with Priya and Vikram as co-CEOs. Still having doubts? Nisha asked gently. Not about the business decision, Priya admitted. The terms are favorable, the transition plan solid. It's the other matter I'm uncertain about. The other matter being Vikram's repeated request to meet the twins. He had been patient, never pushing, but his interest seemed genuine. After their last meeting, where they had finalized the merger details, he had asked again, politely, without presumption.